All right. We are live. Super Ducks, welcome. It is a beautiful day in the sunny Carolinas, and I was having a pretty stressed out morning, so I think I needed this stream probably more than anyone else. Hey Steph, how you doing? I figured I would do a Q&A today. If anyone has any questions related to homeschooling, I'm willing to go fully into it. I was running around like a chicken without a head all morning, and I didn't even have a plan for the stream. 12 o'clock came, and I made a commitment, and I'm here every day. So if you guys have any questions related to your homeschools, I'm more than happy to answer them. But I started being a morning person again. I don't sleep a lot, but I'm either a night owl or a morning person. So I've been waking up at 4 a.m., So I've been waking up at 4 a.m. trying to get all of my creative stuff out of the way so that I could focus on administrative type stuff, right? Because one of the things we all have to balance as homeschool parents, as parents in general, is, right, that work-life schedule. And for me, that could be particularly challenging because I'm writing books, I'm running my private homeschool community, I have a lot of pressure to be creative all of the time, but, you know, that comes with the territory, not complaining, happy to be here. And if you guys have any questions as it relates to your homeschool, as it relates to education or anything going on in the world, I am more than happy to answer. In fact, speaking of things going on in the world, earlier today, I was watching a interview that Tom Burnett did. It's important to give a voice to people that have been marginalized. Like, I did my stream on that the other day where I talked about Kyrie Irving, right? He's a professional basketball player on the Brooklyn Nets, right? And he's taken a stand, right? And whether you agree with him or not, he's been willing to give up a lot, right? He has given up $33 million because, as he says, he wants to give a voice to all of the people in America and around the world who are currently being discriminated against because they will not capitulate to tyranny, right? And we all know people that have lost their jobs, right? So, you know, Kyrie Irving, professional basketball player, he takes a stand. And what happens? All of the shows at ESPN, who, of course, they get paid by Disney. Now, for those of you that don't, they let other ungenetically modified players at Barclays Center, right, because it's all hypocrisy. Like, everything that's happened in the last 20 months has been hypocrisy, right? When you have something that there's a 99% survival rate of, and that's just for the people that get it, right? And 99% of the people aren't getting it. It's quite frankly absurd, everything they've done. But this has never been about keeping people healthy. And you know that because if it was about keeping people healthy, you would see public service announcements from the government, right? This is a public service announcement that going to the gym and working out and getting sunlight and taking vitamins and eating healthy and cutting out the junk, right? Eating McDonald's is not good for you. Pepsi is not good for you, right? Prescription drugs. People have alleged that they might not be in your best interest, right? Whoever sent me that rose, thank you. So Diesel, thank you. I really appreciate that. Right, so, I mean, if any of this was about what they say it's about, then there's no question that they would be talking about health. But it's not about health, and we all know that. That's fine. And, you know, people, they're afraid, and they've been trained by the school system to outsource their thinking to authority, so they're going to go off and get 1,000 boosters. And just got your book off of Amazon. The kids loved it. Love to hear it. Make sure you download the lesson plan. West Virginia girl, love West Virginia. Welcome. Make sure you download the lesson plan that comes with the book. I make them myself, and they're designed to make very complex concepts such as freedom of speech, internet censorship, the right to bear arms, the true congressionally documented history of fake news. It's designed to make all of these very complex concepts relatable to children so that you can have some pretty cool conversations with them. By the way, I'm going Q&A today, so if you have any questions about anything, fire them up. They were talking about my books, The Right to Bear Arms, Free Speech, Social Media Censorship, and the First Amendment, Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee, the Congressionally Documented History of Fake News, The Bear from Jekyll Island, and Good Bears Always Tell the Truth, the Cubs to Bears series. My daughter is a baby, but thanks to your page, I have hopes to homeschool. Yes, and you're going to do great because the public school system is structurally broken from its foundation, right? And there are so many different directions I can go with that. That it teaches to the average, that if your child is, maybe if your child, I don't like to say gifted because all children are gifted, but if your child excels in one area, like mathematics, well, they have to wait for the class, right? And then they get bored and then they hate math. If your child struggles in one category, maybe mathematics, well, after 3 months, the class is going to go from addition to multiplication, and now your child feels like they don't know anything, they feel like they're dumb, and they struggle. But really, the truest travesty of the schooling system is that it's actually very good at what it does. It's very successful, and I'll get into that in a minute. Oh, I need this book. My grandson was withdrawn from school because of today's world. Well, I always tell people, when the devil throws you out of hell, smile and wave on the way out, because public school is hell. Homeschool is where it is. Yeah, it's the Cubs to Bears book series. He has a couple. The one I got is The Right to Bear Arms. I really appreciate all your support. It's been a crazy year with Cubs to Bears blowing up, and like even this page growing up. Like I was out on the town like a month ago, and people are like, "Are you that guy from TikTok?" And I'm like, "That's just hilarious to me." But I've been blessed to have a lot of success. But yeah, I mean, the public school system is not a failure, right? It's a failure if you're judging it by science, math, right? We always hear the United States of America is 10,000th of 177 countries in mathematics, and they're 20,000th of 177 countries in science. Is the problem the curriculum? Is the curriculum is the teachers? It's not funded enough. We need to give the corrupt people in the teachers union more money. That's what we need. None of that's the problem. In fact, I would argue that public school is very successful at doing what it's designed to do, because if you study the history of it, if you study the epistemology of it, well, public school is designed structurally to create a workforce, a population, a citizenry that is obedient to authority. And it has succeeded in spades at that. And if you want more information on that, go back to on my Classical Learner YouTube page, the 7 lessons of public school, right? Public school is structurally designed to get people to outsource their thinking to authority. And that's not like, oh, what do you mean? What are you saying? No. Like, there were congressional hearings, the Congressional Reese Committee, and Norman Dodd, this was in the 50s, was able to get access to the white papers, the corporate minutes of the Rockefeller Foundation. You ever want to know who's in charge of you? Figure out who's tax exempt. Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, and who you can't criticize. And they found that in the early 1900s, they actually got together and they discussed taking over the American education system to make an obedient population. How do you make an obedient population? You train them that their truth comes from authority. And the system they ultimately decided on was a system that was originally implemented in Prussia in the 1870s after Prussia had lost the Napoleonic Wars to France and Napoleon. And their soldiers disobeyed orders. They turned around. They tuck-tailed. By the way, smash the like button. Really helps me out. They tuck-tailed. They ran away. And the government said, we can't let this happen again. So they brought in their social engineers of the day. They brought in psychologists and said, how do we make an education system in which we will have an obedient citizenry who follows orders, outsources their thinking to authority? And the system they came up with was that 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., 45-minute block schedule in which truth comes from the textbook and the teacher, standardized testing, all that. And if you could repeat back, if you could regurgitate information that comes from a textbook, if you could regurgitate information that comes from your teacher, well, then you get an A from the teacher. So now you have provisional self-esteem, right? Your self-esteem is coming by your self-worth. How smart you think you are is coming from how much you agree with authority. And that's how we get to a place today in which people can't see past the tyranny, the medical takeover, which has always been, if you study the Soviet Union, if you study Mao, if you study how these regimes operate, right? They use medicine as a form of tyranny, right? We all know what Joseph Mengele did in World War II. Well, Mr. Ouchie, I wouldn't want to call him a doctor, so Mr. Ouchie, who wants to genetically modify everyone, he was just caught funding a study, right? I mean, allegedly. I don't want to say anything that triggers algorithms or not, but I don't know about you. But personally, when I hear about dogs being tortured, oh, it just breaks my heart. Well, no, my dog's not out here. It's where my little Lucy Lulu. I mean, can you imagine someone being okay with cutting out a dog's vocal cords so that you can't hear them cry, strapping them down and allowing flies to eat their face until they die? If you want to take medical advice from someone who's okay with that, hey, by all means, go do your thing. But me, that's a hard pass. I'm going to pass on that situation. By the way, if you have any questions related to homeschooling, your homeschool, anything in the world, you got my attention today. I was going impromptu, off the cuff today. I had a busy morning, and you know what? It's Friday. It's laid back. It's casual, feeling good. You can see the beautiful setting behind me, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, so where did this rant begin? Do you have a book set? I'm ready to order them all. So I don't have it set up where you could buy them as a set yet, although that is something that's on my to-do list. I'm so overextended all the time with my business and everything that I just haven't got to it. But if you click on the link in my TikTok profile, it links to all the different books right there. Hi there from sunny California. Welcome. And never let a place define you. Just because you are surrounded by tyranny, just because you are surrounded by people who have accepted tyranny with open arms, doesn't mean you are defined by that. And freedom ultimately doesn't come from government. It truly is. We are a government by the consent of the governed. And it comes from personal responsibility, which is why... And why? What do you mean we're a consent of the governed? Don't you see what's going on? I see. I moved from New York in July, and when I was in New York, I never capitulate to tyranny. So, I would walk into stores, and I'd have these people hissing at me, and they're like, why don't you put on your mask? And I would just say, oh, sorry, I was under the impression that it's not good for my personal health. That was just the understanding I was under. And they're like, well, it is good. Don't you know science? I'm like, oh, are you familiar with HIPAA? Are you my doctor? Are you giving me medical advice? Do you have the legal qualifications to give me medical advice or to mandate I do something medically? Well, then get out of here. Oh, so are you discriminating against someone based on their medical situation, their health situation? Well, you haven't told me your situation. Well, are you familiar with HIPAA laws? It's illegal. Are you breaking the law by asking me? Right? And then I'd pull out a notebook and I'd say, what's your name? I'd take down their name, and then they would just be like, oh, all right, sir, just be quick. Just be quick. Like, oh, it's funny how that occurs. Did I tell you guys the story? I don't know if I've told this on the stream yet, of what I did with the voting. So, for the presidential election, oh my God, New York is the worst. Yeah. For the presidential election, I went to vote, right? And when I got there, I stood on the line, and everyone, and like, this is New York, so like country club, it was at a country club, and the line was like, whoop, 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 zigzag, all the way through the parking lot. So I get on the line, and I'm literally, thousands of people there, was the only one without a mask on. So the man working the line, he walks up and he goes, sir, put on your mask. So I went through my spiel. I said, I'm sorry, it's my understanding that wearing a mask isn't good for my health. And he says, well, you have to wear a mask. I say, are you familiar with HIPAA? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, are you familiar with HIPAA? I was like, I don't wear a mask. So then he goes and he talks to his supervisor, and he comes back and he's, sir, you have to wear the mask. So I pull out my phone, I start recording. I said, sir, are you familiar with HIPAA laws? Are you discriminating against me, based on my own personal situation? And then I said, sir, he tried to speak. I didn't answer his questions. Never answer their questions. If you refuse, so I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, but there is a terminology of something called remaining in honor, right? If you refuse, if you just say, no, I'm not doing that, well, it might not work well for you in terms of the position you put yourself in, right? But if you remain in honor, I don't answer his questions, I ask questions. Are you discriminating against me? Are you familiar with HIPAA? Right? I have a legal right to ask these questions. Trust me, you're positioning yourself legally in a better way. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. Don't listen to me. So then I said, are you suppressing my right to vote? So then he calls a supervisor up who he had left to talk to, and he's like, So then he completely changed his stance. It's funny how that happens. He said, all right, sir, all right, you don't have to wear a mask to vote. And I'm like, it's funny because a minute ago, before I understood how to defend myself, right? Before I understood how to demonstrated that I understand how to defend my rights, a minute ago you told me that I couldn't vote unless I had a mask on. So then they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to shame you, right? That's what they do. That's all they have, right? Because they're controlled by social shame, so they expect me to be controlled by social shame. But what they should have realized is the gigantic freaking cojones I already had, self-evident by the fact that I was standing on the line with thousands of people and I was the only one not wearing a muzzle, right? Some of the bravest people you will ever meet are 5'3" moms who will walk into a Trader Joe's in California with a big visible smile on their face. And don't you ever forget it. Never underestimate the power of one courageous person, and never underestimate the power of the courage that lives inside of you. And you teach that to your children. 420 Drya, how you doing? Welcome. One of my favorite TikTokers. Everyone should follow her. So yeah, they tried to social shame me, and they said, sir, you can vote, but we're going to have to stop the line when you get to the front and clear out this entire country club, and everyone on the line is going to have to wait for you. And I just calmly looked at them and said, that's you pausing. That's not me. That's on you. And so I got to the front of the line, and I would be remiss to say I wasn't nervous, because I was definitely nervous with like thousands of people behind me and me in the front. And they started clearing out this just ordered all 5. Thank you. And check out the lesson plans that come with the book. They're free, downloadable from my website. I make them myself, and they're designed to partner with the book so that you could really have conversations about some complex topics. So I got to the front of this line, and they start clearing out this country club. www.classicallearner.com. You'll see the Cubs to Bears section. Just click on those links and you can download the lesson plans. Some of them even have videos I made, the videos that go with the lesson plans that are like pretty cool. Like I tried to really simplify the language to explain like Operation Mockingbird and the congressionally documented findings of the church committee to young children, which is like very hard to do, but I really tried to simplify the language. So hopefully it works. I think for elementary school, like I had my niece do it to test it out. That was my beta test, and she completely got it. So I was like, all right, and she was 6 at the time. So I was like, all right, I think even though the complexity level of this is so high, young children could get it. You know, not all young children will get it because it really is complex, but like 6, 7, 8 can really start to get like even the video I put in the lesson plan, which like younger children get the book, but the lesson plan that goes with it, it's like, it warms my heart for young children to understand congressionally documented history of fake news. So I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but I don't like corporate media. I think they are satanic. I think that they are paid for shills. And quite frankly, I think they're traitors to the United States of America and whatever country they're in. And I think they're sick. I think they are repugnant. I digress. So I was at the front of this line, and they were clearing out the whole country club. And I got thousands of people behind me, and I'm sitting there pretty nervous because, you know, I'm like, these people are going to just mutiny against me. Well, shocking enough to me, even the masked people in New York started yelling at the people running the voting, not me. They were like, just let them vote. What's the big deal? And I was like, yes, because I was at the front of the line. I was like, oh, man. I was like, I'm going to be in trouble here. I bought 5 of your books. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And like I said, check out the lesson plans. I have another book coming out in the next 2 weeks on essentially on the dangers of socialism. It's really the dangers of taking free things. And that I actually broke free. It was such a good story that I broke free from the Cubs to Bears series, and it's its own story. And then in December, I wanted 2 to come out November, December, because quite frankly, people buy a lot of books around Christmas. So I was like, why would I wait to release the books, you know? So I have one coming out November and one coming out December, which is a return to the Cubs to Bears series. And sorry, I keep dropping this. Is a return to the Cubs to Bears series, and it's on nutrition. There's no bad guy in this one. This one is all about nutrition, the one coming out in December, and I'm really excited about it. It's called You Are What You Eat, and it's designed, it simplifies the language enough to make children understand the role that bacterias, viruses, and fungus play in creating minerals and vitamins and decomposing living organisms. The roots absorb the organisms. It goes up into the plants, and they become nutrient rich. They become vitamin rich, mineral rich. The animals eat that, right? The plants, and they get the nutrients, and then we eat the plants and the animals. We get the nutrients, right? So it's really designed to give children a foundational understanding of what health is. And then probably around April, May, I'm going to release a book which is on the second part of that book, in which I introduce the concept of what Monsanto's does, what Roundup is, what fluoride in water is, and how they poison our environment, so that children can understand the difference between genetically modified, organic, and what has pesticides sprayed on it. So to me, these are really important concepts. So that's what I got going on. That's what Cubs to Bears has coming out. I'm really excited about it. So when I originally started this long rant, I was, and by the way, if you guys have any questions, I'm Q&A today. I'm free. Anything you want to talk about, whatever, let's rock it. Smash the like button. Really appreciate that. But I was watching this podcast today by Tom Burnett, who's one of my favorite people. I say on the internet, but he's one of my favorite people in the entire world, Tom Burnett. He, who by chance, he was actually the first big account, him and Owen Benjamin, to share Cubs to Bears to like big audiences, and like really got me going, got me on the map. So like I'm forever grateful to Tom, to Owen. Good people. But Tom Burnett is just, he's from Australia. He is just this wealth of knowledge about health, about learning your rights, about freedom. And he's one of the most censored people on the internet, Tom Burnett. TomBurnett.tv is his website. You guys should all check it out. He's phenomenal. But he had on a wife and a husband, I guess. Maybe a boyfriend, a girlfriend. I think a wife and a husband. Who, I think they were in, New Zealand. Could have been Australia, but I think New Zealand. And it was a real example of why we all have to stick together and how outrageous this could all get. So, the husband and wife were basically traveling, and the husband had I guess he was having a panic attack, and he felt like his heart was going, and he had to go to the hospital. And when they got there, and they found out that they weren't modified human beings, they weren't Monsanto people. I'm speaking in hobo code. Don't want to trigger the algorithms. It became just this absolute hellfire. And, of course, the wife, she wouldn't let them do the testing because she was against them sticking the swab up her nose. And she knew how to hold her position. Like, they were like, we're going to stick this swab up your nose. She was like, well, I can't allow anyone to do anything unless you first tell me what's on the swab. Do you have a packaging that lists the ingredients that are in the swab, right? Like, I need to know this stuff. You're telling me you want to shove this in my nose. So she requested that information, and they couldn't provide it. So she said, I would think about it. She didn't deny. She was smart. I would think about it. But, I'm requesting that you show me what you're telling me. You want to give me a medical procedure. Then I have a right to know what you're doing to me, right? And they couldn't produce it. But New Zealand's further gone than America, and like they were like, well, you have to quarantine now because you're not letting us do a test and you're in the hospital. So she was like, no, well, I'm not going to quarantine. I'm going to stay with my husband. So they wound up sending the police, right? And the police, they basically told her that they were going to forcibly remove her and physically force her to quarantine unless she did. And like eventually she went to the quarantine. They told her, they were like, just come with us. It will be for 3 days. So she went with them. And then when she got there, they were like, oh no, not 3 days. Procedure's 14 days. And like she was essentially kept prisoner against her will for 14 days. And like Tom had her on and was just helping give her a platform. But it makes me really appreciate where we are right now in America. And it shows like you have to push back against this stuff. When a bully hits you, if you don't hit them back, right? What do you think is going to happen, right? So that's just, to me, I don't know. I thought Tom was really cool to give her a platform, and it made me appreciate where we are. Definitely buying them. Thank you. He's so smart. I'm Tom Burnett, I'm assuming. Concerned, not considered. So, yeah, I mean, that was really my day. I woke up early. I'm excited for the weekend to take a break because I've been going really hard this week, and like I was going so hard that I didn't even have a plan. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. Teachable moments, right? And it kind of fits in with everything happening with medicine. So yesterday my wife had done a really cool, we were at a store like 2 weeks ago, and we had seen this, I guess, plaster kit. I'm probably saying this wrong. But basically it's like a liquid. you pour the liquid into these moldings that are shaped like human bones, and they harden, and then you make human bones with your child, and then you build a skeleton, right? So yesterday, my wife and my son were making these moldings of a human skeleton, and she was talking to him all about the different parts of the human body and pointing out the bones, and like he was really digging this. So he started asking me later that night. I was giving him a bath, and he was like, Dad, he was asking me all these questions about the human body. That's super cool. Yeah, super cool. So I was like, oh, Brady, why don't we read Inside Your Outside Machine, which is a book I've read with him probably 35 times since he was little. It's a Dr. Seuss book. I really like it. Inside Your Outside Machine. You know, basically they go through this machine, and it's like an X-ray machine, so you could see their bones, you know, / MRI machine, like you could see their ligaments, their muscles, and it's just really well written. Like, as an Amazon #1 best-selling author, I could appreciate a well-written book. But all jokes aside, like, the book is really well written. Inside Your Outside Machine by Dr. Seuss. So last night before bed, as I do every night, we sat down for about an hour. Like every night before bed, like 45 minutes for an hour, we just read. We just read. If you get that habit down, nothing else will matter. If you give me a person who's a competent reader, who loves reading and pursues knowledge throughout their life, and I'll show you a person that will be successful. You don't worry about all the other nonsense from the Department of Education. So we sat down and we read Inside Your Outside Machine, and this was the first time in his life, like, I read it slow, and we were going over all the different parts of the body, and he was asking me questions, and I was talking to him about the human body and how it's put together and health, and it was just such a great breakthrough that I had last night with my son. And the teachable moment for you as the classical learner community, as the homeschool community, that I'd like to communicate is we as parents just need to be patient, develop good habits, and recognize when teachable moments present themselves. And if we do that, by the way, please smash the like button. It really helps me find new viewers because the algorithm, it goes out to other people. If we as parents learn to recognize teachable moments after we establish good habits, then you will find the moments like my son had last night where he's asking me all these questions about the human body, about how it's made up, about health. And I'm going to read it with him again tonight. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, Brady, you want to read Inside Your Outside Machine again? I really had fun last night. And he's going to be all about it, and we're just going to just crush. And teachable moments are such an important part of homeschool. Like, I'm going to get back to, let me just read. Marine Princess has some insight, and I'd like to share it. That sounds super cool. I let my son pick out 5 of his own books, and then I let him pick 2 times randomly each day that he wants. That's great that you read so many books. That's a lot of reading. That's people like you are what builds a better future. To read, and now he's loving reading. I used to fight him with all the time when I forced it. Yeah, so I actually did a consultation. This week. I had talked about it yesterday, in which a child was a capable reader, but they were really pushing back on all the reading with their family. And what I told the mother is the #1 objective of early childhood reading is to just establish the love of reading. And to me, if your child's pushing back too much against like tedious assignments, like that's fine, do them, but like let them read that with like Amazon Audible. Like let them listen to that, or get those books on CD and let them listen to the tedious reading, right? And then just for 45 minutes, 1 hour every day, allow them to read books of their choice. I don't care if it's quote unquote appropriate reading level, or if it's quote unquote more juvenile than what they should be reading. That's fine. Develop a habit of reading every day. Develop a love of reading, and your children will start to excel, and you'll be amazed by how good they'll be at reading. They'll be much better at reading at age 18 than the students who were forced to do all the tedious work. hate reading, only read whenever they're assigned something, and by the time they're 18, 19 years old, they're out in the world, they don't read. That's not something they do, which is the majority of the population, which is why the majority of the population is, dare I say it, dumbed down. I digress. But we as parents, we need to train ourselves to recognize these teachable moments. And that's why when I talk about unschooling, right, and I say, what I always tell people, I say skills over subject matter, because we want our children to be proficient in art, proficient in music, construction, computer coding, photography, videography, any skill, plumbing, electrical, I don't care, hair cutting, whatever skill they can develop, cooking. Because if they're proficient in all these things and you're giving them consistent entrepreneurial experience, so just like every 6 months, make sure they're doing one entrepreneurial thing. Doesn't have to be anything complex. It could be basic marketing, like host a dinner party, make the invitations, video invitations, send them out to the family, host a bake sale, put flyers in the neighbor's mailbox. Because what we're going for is the mindset, right? The experience and the mindset so that they see opportunities. And if you combine that with the skills that you developed, eventually the teachable moments will present themselves where you could say to them, you know, a great business idea, like to your 12-year-old, you say, you made this design. Why don't you put that on a t-shirt? I bet there'd be demand for that, right? And then you help them make a Facebook page, a website, market their shirt, and start selling their shirt, whatever. You get the point. It's a teachable moment that you recognize, like, oh, now they're ready. And good thing for the last 5 years, we were developing art skills, right? Because now we're going to take that art skill. I'm going to teach my child that you can have that printed on shirts, and we're going to sell shirts. And then my child's going to make real money. And then we're going to take the financial education that we've been giving this child since they were... By the way, anyone who hasn't watched the episode I did on teaching children financial literacy, one of the best episodes I ever did. It's on the Classical Learner YouTube page from like 3 weeks ago. I don't know. You watch that, because we teach our children financial literacy from when they're little. And then, oh, by the way, this guy. All right, hold on one second. I had done a TikTok on purchasing land, and I talked about getting out of debt, right? And one of these accounts, he had like 250,000 followers, stitched my thing, and he went on to berate me and talk about how I had that Dave Ramsey mindset. He's talking about get out of debt. It's that, right? It's the Dave Ramsey mindset, right? Like there's not a lot of opportunity in the world. And he didn't have duets and stitch on himself, because I would have loved to have went back at him, because I am more than educated in the rich dad, poor dad philosophy of money. And I actually believe in that. I think it's a great philosophy. In fact, I always tell people either get out of debt or have more debt than you could ever imagine, right? Because what these really rich people do is they take out loans from the bank. So if you only have to put really like 10% down on a property, right? So like if they'll buy $100,000 property, just making the number simple, they'll put $10,000 down, take out $90,000 from the bank, which I'm more than capable of doing that. I've been successful in life. I have money, all that. Like my credit's great, right? And then you do that one time. The best way to do it when you start out is you get a fourplex, right? So you put down 10%, you get a fourplex, you get 4 doors, you have 4 incomes coming in of rent. Then you take that money. Once you have 10% on your next property, you put 10% down, and you could do that 4 times to start out. You have 16 doors, and now you have 16 incomes coming in. You have a lot of debt, no worry, because your renters are paying the debt, right? Yeah, I get that, guy. I actually did a unschooling consultation where I actually set up, you should go watch that episode, I set up a 15-year-old, he's going to be a real estate mogul, I know he's going to be successful, with the plan I set up for him. And I set up a track where he could have his first property when he's 18, 19, 20 years old, his first fourplex. And I had him read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, The 5-Hour Work Week, all these things I had him do, right? I suggested he look into starting an UTMA account, investment account, so that he has enough money for a down payment, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I do have UTMA accounts for my children, and anyone who has children, I'm not a financial advisor, it would be really, really smart to look into UTMA accounts. UTMA. It's not only the rich that have trust accounts for their children. It's just most people aren't educated properly. UTMA. Look that up. Right? So I got him all set up so that he could own properties 18, 19, 20 years old. I had him learn photography, and he is going to, this is unschooling at its core. So his mom's a photographer, so he's taking a photography class, he's taking a videography class, and he's working with his mom, going hard for 2 months. At the end of those 2 months, he's going to do research using Zillow on the 10 most successful real estate agents in his area, 15, 16 years old. He is then going to approach the 10 most successful real estate agents in his area and offer to do their real estate photography at 16 years old. If they say no, he's going to offer to do their first 5 houses for free and tell them if they don't like his work after that, he can get lost. And he could tell them, you could even hire your own photographer, just send me in also, and I'll do a better job. And after 5 houses, if you want me to get lost, I'll get lost. He'll be successful. So then he'll have an in the real estate market, right? When he's 17, I also had him studying music mixing so that he could add music, right? He could create and add music to the videos he makes for these real estate agents. And when he's 17, he's not even going to wait till he's 18. He's going to take the state mandated courses to become a real estate agent, a broker. And then on his 18th birthday, he'll become a real estate broker, right? And when then he'll be a broker. He'll have money in his account. He'll have the proper education from the broker school to know what properties to look for. He'll understand the philosophy from the Rich Dad books, Think and Grow Rich, 5-Hour Work Week. And when he's 18, 19, 20 years old, he'll have the money to put down a down payment. I talked to his parents about taking out a credit card in his name and putting like $100 on it every month, paying it on time, build up his credit so he could get that loan from the bank. So for the guy who called me out saying, I don't know, that I'm just uneducated with financial literacy, why don't you put your Stitch and your Duet on, and why don't we battle this out? The reason I tell people to get out of debt is because I'm aware of things that guy's not aware of. So when I see society changing, and I see them destroying the dollar, possibly bringing in a digital dollar, right? And what are the ramifications of that? When I see them telling real estate owners, right, these people that own real estate and they owe money to the bank, well, now you got the government coming in telling people that because of the Heineken infection, they don't have to pay their rent for a year, right? Well, a lot of real estate investors are going to go broke, right? Because the government did that. When I see the government telling people that, but I'm still not even against that type of real estate investing. Like, if you want to do that, go for it. Like, it's not the biggest deal if you file for bankruptcy, if you own like 5 or 6 properties. Like, that's actually worth going for. When I see the government, what's not worth going for is the average person who's not doing that, who's like, and this guy's just advising them. He's like, oh yeah, just do, take your down payment, take your 10%, put $20,000 down and buy a $200,000 house and then pay the bank back $180,000. Well, when you have the government coming in and they're incentivizing employers, right, to tell you that you can't do your job, you can't earn a paycheck unless you get a medical procedure you don't want to get. Well, now, if you owe that $180,000 to the bank, and that's everything you have, and you're going to lose your house, right? You're going to lose everything you have to the bank unless you submit to medical tyranny and get that procedure because you needed to earn a paycheck. Well, now you're in a bad situation. And that is why I'm telling everyone to get out of debt, because it's making people less controllable. And yes, I could have been a fancy boy, right? Like, I've been very successful. I own my own business. I've done very well for myself. I sold my New York. I had the big New York home with the big mortgage, and I saw the way the world was changing. I sold my house to get out of debt. I moved my family across the country, one, to get out of debt, and two, to be away from tyranny. I wasn't in debt because, like, oh, this guy's in debt. I was in debt because I had the big fancy mortgage, right? I was living on Long Island, which is one of the highest cost of living places in the United States of America, if not the world, right? I was living in bougie, bourgeoisie Long Island, right? And sold my house, got out of debt, moved my family across the country, and listen, everything's relative, right? Like, I understand that I'm fortunate that I understand that, right? Like, so, like, when you say this, you get a lot of, like, the must be nice people, must be nice. Like, I understand that. Everything is relative, right? And some people only have $20,000, and it might make sense for them to take out, $100,000, take out $80,000 from the bank, right? I understand that. I'm not knocking you. It's just, everyone's in a different situation, but I'm trying to advise people so that they're not controllable, so they don't have to submit to tyranny, right? Because they're in a desperate situation. But I was able to move my family down south, get 16 acres of tree-covered land, and this isn't where I'm going to be living, by the way. This is my temporary stopgap. 16 acres of tree-covered land, and I'll be living in a double-wide trailer, which, again, anyone who doesn't know what they are, like, if you haven't been in one, I mean, they're really beautiful. Like, I'm not upset about it, but I'm living in a trailer, right? So with that said, I could have taken that same money I have very easily, and with the rules of the banking system, and because I understand it, I literally could have purchased a property worth over $1 million. I could have purchased a property worth over $1 million, and instead I'm living in a trailer. So I practice what I preach, and for that guy that was calling me out, I'm very financially literate. And there's certain things that he doesn't understand about the world, and when he's advising regular people leverage their money to take on debt from the bank, not to bring in assets and passive income, but just to live, that is not good advice in today's world. But anyway, he didn't have his duet and stitch on, so I couldn't smack back. I found Roblox Studio, where kids can build levels for free and then play. Love them. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool coding stuff that children can learn. I actually did a video yesterday. I mean, I was really just trying to get people to follow my wife at Classical Learner. But she had posted a video with my son playing with Kinderbot, which is a robot designed to teach young children coding. But I did a duet with my wife's video, and I pointed out Kinderbot. There is Codable, which is a really cool website to teach children coding. There is the Spark Academy, which is a really cool app for children 4+ to teach them coding. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things you could do with coding. And like, if your children are into like Minecraft, Microsoft actually has a really cool program that teaches coding through Minecraft. So that's what's up. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a fun Friday. It's been a fun Friday. I got to finish a few things that I got to get done, and then I'd very much like to take my wife and my son and my boy into town. There's actually a nice event that's happening in town for Halloween, so I'll get my boy dressed up. He's a Power Ranger this year, so I'll get him all dressed up. My daughter, I think she's gonna be a little pumpkin. Where do you suggest I go to get started homeschooling for my 9-year-old? Well, the first place I suggest you go is to Homeschools Connected, which is on the link in my profile. And for $10 a month with the promo code TOGETHER, you get access to all my curriculum research, myself, the community. But Outside of that, the first thing I recommend you do is go to hslda.org, and they have the paperwork you need to formally withdraw your children from public school. hslda.org. The next thing you want to do is click on your state. There's a map. Click on the state. Which state do you live in? There's a map, so click on your state on the map on hslda.org. Familiarize yourself with the regulations in your state, because like some states, like there's certain subjects you have to cover. Some states there are limitations to what you can do with homeschooling. Some states there are standardized testing you have to take. Some states you have to be in contact with the school district. It's not that complex, but you need to be aware of this stuff. The next thing I want you to do is check out the Homeschool SchedTrack, which is a free record-keeping service. Definitely check that out. And then from there, I mean, like, familiarize yourself with unschooling, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, classical education. And then from there, like, I mean, there are so many good programs. There's, like, Classical Conversations I love. The Good and the Beautiful I love. Time for Learning, Abeka. It really just depends what you want. So look into all of that, and I really would recommend you join my private homeschool community. Promo code TOGETHER, it's $10 a month. Like I said, you get access to me, you get access, one, you just support me, which I think everyone should. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I need people's support in order to do what I'm doing in the world. And two, you get access to my research, you get access to the community, you get access, if you inbox me on Homeschools Connected, I'm going to answer you. And like, you could ask me anything you want at any time, and I'm going to answer you. So like, you're my priority if you're in my community. So yeah, I would recommend that. And I think that should be a good start for you. I've homeschooled my kids for 12 years now. That's amazing. And I would love to interview you if you'd want to do an interview. Although I tried to do an interview on TikTok the other day, but I had to do it on Instagram because the person I was interviewing had, I don't know what the rule is. I think they had under 1,000 followers, so they couldn't do a live with me. But if you want to email me at classicallearnertoday@gmail.com, I would love to do an interview with a veteran homeschool parent, because you have so much knowledge to share with the world. Like, you probably know more about homeschooling than I do, and I'm the homeschool guy, right? I just love days like today. Like, it's not hot, it's not cold, there's a beautiful breeze. I'm sitting in the gazebo, which is key in the Carolinas. Like, you need a gazebo, you need shade, and you need cover from the bugs, because, I mean, the mosquitoes here, they literally look you in the eyes and tell you they're going to kill you. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I do this every Monday through Friday at 12. Every now and then I'll pop in for a random stream. I post the replays to the Classical Learner YouTube channel. I post lots of stuff every day on Classical Learner Today, which is my Instagram channel. Yeah, it's not snowing here. It's not snowing here in the sunny South. I mean, we have our downside. You know, the mosquitoes try to kill you. There's venomous snakes. They try to eat me. There's alligators. I was at my friend's house like a month and a half ago, and they had a dock out on their backyard, and I was standing out on the dock, and I watched an alligator eat a fish. It was crazy. It was crazy. I grew up in the north. I was like, ah! It was nuts. I would to answer questions. Not in GA either, but I hope it does. Yeah, no snow down here. No, we all do what we can. We all do what we can. So, people ask me and I just go off of my child's needs. Yeah, well, that's what homeschooling's all about. Like, yeah, you could set up some formal stuff, but like, so I point them in your direction. Oh, thank you. Really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Like, really, really appreciate that. This is this world is hard. I'll tell you that. Like, this world beats. Like, we need to stick together. Like, this Christmas season, buy from people you know, and mom and pop. Like, don't buy from Nike, right? Like, mom and pop stores. Like, don't go to the big mall stores. Go to that mom and pop store that costs a little more money. Like, we need to support each other. That's how we build. That's how we win. This world is tough. And like, here's the thing. Like, if I go to the store and I spend my money at Walmart, that money goes, I mean, yes, it goes to the employees at Walmart in that area, but like, that's minimal. Like, that money goes out of the community. But like, if you take your money, and I did a TikTok the other day where instead of going to Walmart, I went to the garden center in the town that I live. Well, that money, it creates a battery, because now I purchase from the garden center, and everyone employed by the garden center lives in my community. The owners of the garden center live in my community. So like, they're going to take that money and buy their garden supplies and like their crops from local farmers in the area. The farmers in the area are going to go to the diner in the area. Like, it's just a battery when you spend money mom and pop. So like, even though you're spending more money, if enough people start to do it, and that's why like, so many people don't deserve freedom. Like, I know it sounds crazy when I say that. Like, I mean it when you say freedom has to be earned. Like, the people in California beg for Gavin Newsom. They're like, please take away my rights. Like, yes, it costs a little more money, but if you create that battery, then it's going to benefit your community and it's going to benefit you. And like, we have been so conditioned not to prop each other up, not to empower each other. Like, everyone, like, people live next to each other and they don't even know their neighbor. Like, I was on a stream, was it earlier this week or maybe last week? I don't know, it's all a blur to me. And I saw my wife text me during the stream that my neighbor needed me to run an errand. And I literally, like, that moment knew I was dropping the rest of my day. And I got off the stream, dropped the rest of my day, and I just went to help my neighbor run errands. Like, we need to empower. When you empower your neighbor, when you empower your fellow man who you know, like, that includes people on the internet. That includes me. But like, when you empower your neighbor, when you empower the guy who you know who's doing good things, like, that's a battery, and it empowers yourself and empowers all of us. And it's something like, people are so conditioned to save a little money at Walmart. People are so conditioned to spend $10 on Netflix, but they won't spend $10 on Tom Burnett, who's like a one-man wrecking ball of freedom. So, do you still have a code for Homeschool Connect? I wrote it down last week, but I lost it. Yes, the code appropriately is TOGETHER. Together. That's Homeschool Connect Together. And for Together, it drops the price from $15 a month to $10 a month. But I only have it at $15 so that I could use the promo codes, because then I know where I get my referrals from. So it just helps. So that's promo code Together. Homeschool's connected, $10 a month. And you get access to me. You get access to the community. You get access to my research. And you support me, which I think is a really cool thing. So, hey, no, listen, I don't know if I'm coming or going half the time. So I'm like, we all have a lot going on. So, all right, guys, I think I'll call this a day, because I do have a lot of stuff I have to get done. And I look forward to going out on the town with my family today, and my boy doing some trick-or-treating, and we'll get some food. Maybe I'll get them some ice cream, and by them, I'll probably get myself some ice cream. It's my weakness. I came here for that. I missed it last week. Well, I post all the replays on the Classical Learner YouTube page. So, all right, guys. Freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. And I'll be back at 12 o'clock on Monday to earn it.